So when I expressed to my parents that I want to be a musician, they started doing a little bit of research because I think they start grow worried that I might be serious. So they started getting in touch with professors and everyone, and with the exception of that one person that I told you, that the trumpet player, everyone, he was the only person who said, look, if you work hard, you can make it. It's not an easy profession to do. It's a lot of work. But yeah, if you work hard and if you like it, you should go for it. Everyone else, 9 of 10 people would tell my parents that, hey, if he's any good in high school, just make sure he doesn't study music. It's a bad idea. So what I developed this like stubborn sense of, I would just ignore most of the feedback because I had a belief that, well, it did not make sense. I would go and win these competitions, and suddenly everyone would kept on telling me that it was too late for me. I was too old, and nothing would add up. How was I the kid who was doing well, but at the same time always behind somebody? So that was I kind of became very stubborn with feedback, and I just became a little bit of ignorant, and I would just like make up my mind and go for it regardless of whatever other people say, which made me a very in a sense hard student to have as a teacher, because I would always question everything you say. I would always question. I would know why, and if it wouldn't be explained in a sense that it would make sense to me, I would just ignore it. So when I went to UK, my attitude was not like, oh no, I need to catch up there. My attitude was like, okay, it's like, that's fine. They tell this, doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna keep on practicing, and I made some adjustments, but I wasn't that was my the ignorance was almost like a blessing at that point. At some point I started making adjustments because like in my practice in terms of having more structure and so on, but because the holes were starting to creep out in competitions and ensemble playing. But like emotionally, I was never that's probably how I approach most of the things even nowadays. It's my first reaction is never emotional. Normally if I see a problem, the first thing that I think about is, okay, what does that mean? What's the solution? How long will it take? And then later on, I think, okay, that's a problem. then I start thinking a little bit more in terms of how I feel. So it wasn't particularly like stressful necessarily experience. It was just, I'll get it done. I never had a belief in my playing, but I had an absolute belief in my work ability. Like I that's just the way I kind of, I guess it came from my experience, because I started rubbing shoulders with best younger players, and they would practice like a couple hours a day, hour and a half a day, and I would out practice them 2-3 times. And that's when you see that around you, you kind of get an idea of, okay, those are the top players, that's what they're doing. I guess I'm just gonna stubbornly outwork them. So it took me a little while to make my playing a little bit more versatile. I always describe the difference between good professional and good amateur player is that on a good day, both of them can play at a very high level, but on the bad day, your professional will be right here and your amateur is going to be somewhere right here. So I was a very, very good amateur for a long time. Like on a good day, I could play as good as anyone. On a bad day, it would be rough times, so to say. So I'm one of the poorest in class learners you'll ever find. I used to have this thing, and up to this point, I don't know like what would be maybe an explanation for that, but I used to go to these classes where they would teach theory in Royal Northern College of Music, and within the first 5 minutes, I would get uncontrollably sleepy. I could do anything. I could start pinching myself. I would just get uncontrollably sleepy. And as soon as the bell would ring, and I would have a good night's sleep, drink a good strong cup of coffee, and nothing would help. And as soon as the bell would ring, immediately my brain would, okay, it's time to wake up. I'm awake. So most of the time in classes, I would learn pretty much, I would say, almost nothing. The only takeaway would be, okay, let me write down, or I need to know what I need to research when I'm back home. Same thing with playing. I was, up to this date, I'm not very, my strength is not necessarily making adjustments on the spot. I always trust my preparation. I always trust the process and the preparation. And again, it has advantages, has disadvantages. Short term, probably not the most advantageous spot to be at, because of incapability of making adjustments on the fly. But long term, what I found is I ended up surpassing people in a sense that I just overlasted. I kept on practicing. I never stopped. My workload never stopped. And I guess that's another thing important to recognize, especially for teachers, I guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting way of putting it. I'm the same way. I was never an in-class learner. And I had the same experience in college. It was with some very specific courses where it didn't matter what it was, and I was just like, I would be falling asleep 10 minutes in, no matter what I did. I just thought it was me. I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm glad I know somebody else is out there.
Nowadays, if you were in the school, they would probably put you on some sort of a Adderall or something.
Right.
So, and it's I always when I teach, because I teach at the youth brass band program, I always make sure I have this conversation with parents if I see somebody who's definite outclass learner, and you normally recognize that where you see them underperform in a class, and next time they show up, you see a substantial change in the progress they made that you would not normally anticipate. And nowadays it seems like a lot of, especially in America, that the European style of music learning is way more based on one-on-one lessons. It's almost exclusively one-on-one lessons, whereas it's completely opposite in the United States. It's almost all class, big group type of lessons. And in class lessons and in group lessons, it's hard to excel if you're somebody who does better at your own time. So and can be pretty devastating to kid if they think that they're always doing something wrong, or maybe they just simply need a slightly different direction for the method of learning. So I always try and recognize that with my younger students.
So with your younger students that are in class that are going through what you discussed, and they're kind of underperforming in class, but they come back and they've brought something to the table, is your suggestion to the parents, you know what, private lessons might be the better way to go here, because your student is improving, but this environment is not the way they learn. This is how it's, yeah.
One of things I always recommend, yes, definitely one-on-one lessons. Those people excel far more. And another lesson is just knowing that a lot of parents have no clue what that means. And once you explain it to them and you use yourself as an example, often you get feedback from your teachers that, hey, your kid is not doing well, he's not paying attention. And that's not necessarily, and there's kind of the case, but it's not necessarily because of lack of the effort. It's just not how they're wired. So always make sure that I tell that not only for the benefit of me, but I always feel like a responsibility for letting parents know that, hey, your kid is actually a very well-behaved kid, a very good kid. It's just the way he's learning is very different. I'm going to treat and assign him very different. I'm going to be a little bit more basic in the lessons. I'm going to tell him what needs to be prepared, and he excels at his own time. And I would encourage you to keep in mind that for the other subjects that might be appearing in other circumstances. So it's not necessarily on my end. I can always make that adjustment in the classes. I kind of feel like same thing. I was always the weird one. They used to have this joke in my class in high school. The supervisor would always say, my class has 15 boys, 15 girls, and Algirdas. Because I would never go on any school trips. I was always busy practicing. I would never, and look, it's just, I guess, the way I was wired, and I found a way to excel. But each time I see somebody in that kind of same situation, I just feel kind of responsibility on putting them a little bit on the track of the right approach, I guess.